So you got your Facebook ad campaigns up and running. So now what? Do you ever wonder what you should be measuring to see if your campaigns are successful? Dude, I got your back. I like to keep it simple and not overcomplicate things. So I'm going to share things that you might have heard of and some things you may never even knew that you could measure. So let's start with the performing metrics, right? Your results. These are the total number of times your campaign received its desired outcome. It is probably the most important metric of every campaign and the type of result that will vary based on the type of campaign objective and the goals that you have set. So if you're running a conversion campaign objectives, we'll have different types of results, such as purchases, leads, complete registrations. Maybe you're using the Facebook leads, right? So form leads. If you're running a video view campaign objectives, those will have through play results. Traffic campaign objectives will have link clicks or landing page views, whichever you choose to optimize for. So let's finish up the vital and obvious metrics to measure, okay? So we're talking about the cost per result measures how much of the desired result or action cost. So the formula for this metric is the total ad spend divided by the total number of results. So results go back to whatever we're looking for, whether they're through plays, whether they're leads, complete registration, all the things that I just said, all right? So next up is your conversion rate. So this measures the percentage of your desired results you achieved compared to the total number of link clicks, right? So we can use this for anything. So if we're talking about landing page conversions, we want to know that if we're running some sort of a lead magnet, like how many clicks is it taking before somebody actually decides to opt in? Same thing with purchases. So the formula that you're going to be using is the number of results divided by the number of link clicks. Then return on ad spend. This measures the amount of revenue generated for every dollar you put into ads. This is the reason it's so important to make sure you have separate funnels so you can properly see what sales or what leads come in specifically through Facebook ads. Sometimes you will also need to do this manually, especially since most of the time you're running a list building campaign before your sales, right? So if you're having a webinar, you're having a challenge, or maybe a 3-day launch, you are going to have something where it like gets people to sign up, right? And then you start your sales campaign. So you have to really look at what you're doing in order to calculate this. And the formula to calculate your return on ad spend is the total revenue, especially the revenue generated from ads divided by the total ad spend, okay? And like I said, some of it will have to be doing manually. Sometimes you can't do, let's say, dollar for dollar, because you might have, let's say you're doing your main focus is with ads and you're building your list. Yes, you might be doing some things organically and you might get some leads in there. So a lot of people just put all the revenue that they received divided by how much money they put out on ads, because it all kind of goes together. Because open cart campaigns, things like that, it gets a little bit more tricky in there, but just keep that in mind. Okay. Impressions are the number of times your ads were on the screen in front of your audience. Now, the more impressions your ad receives, the higher your brand awareness. Now, this often gets confused with reach, okay? So let me break it down to kind of make it make sense in your brain. Impressions are the total numbers of times your ad has been seen, whereas reach is the total number of people who have seen your ad. So one person could see your ad 5 times, which and hence like increases that level of brand awareness, right? Because they keep seeing you. This would count as 5 times towards the impressions, but only 1 time towards reach. Make sense? Okay, CPM, cost per 1,000 impressions, is the cost to achieve more than 1,000 impressions, which we just said what impressions were. Now, the CPM is a common metric across online advertising. It measures the cost effectiveness of the ad campaign, and it's a great metric to compare across different ad publishers and campaigns. It is also helpful in understanding how pricing is fluctuating for your chosen placement. Now remember, Facebook ads is an auction system. So is your CPA increasing because your target audience is becoming more competitive, or is it because your conversion rate is plummeting? Okay, so look at the CPM to determine if it's your ad placement that is becoming more expensive, as well as compare costs across platforms. Now, your CTR, link click-through rate, is the number of clicks compared to the number of impressions. All right, now let's get into some things that you may not have even thought to look at. Now, when you're looking at your ads manager, right under the tabs where you see like campaigns, ad sets, ads, there are three little drop downs, right? The first is columns. So you can really dive into what's working by looking at just even a few. So let's start, if you choose from the drop down, engagement. Choosing this, you can see the post reactions, comments, saves, and shares. Then can tell which ads are creating the most engagement and what kind of content that you can create more of, right? As well as see like maybe who on your team can be reaching out to those that maybe made comments or shares and responding to those comments and thanking them for the shares. Now, if you have any video for your ad creative, and if you don't, you should, I'd like to measure the video engagement. And you can find this when you choose the video engagement dropdown. What I'm looking for here is how long are people watching? And just a reminder, through play, which is what video view campaigns are optimized for, is 15 seconds. So that means they're saying how many people in your results are watching for 15 seconds. I personally like to see where they stop watching. So depending on the length of your video, you want to say the longer that they watch, no matter how long your video is, the more qualified they are. So if I see, let's say, a huge drop off from the through play, which is 15 seconds, to let's say 25% of the video, or from 25 to 50% of the video, etc., then you can identify the gap, right? So what are you saying that's making them, drop off? Are you creating any curiosity to keep them watching longer? And then when you start creating more and more video, you kind of get this format of how you can be doing it to get them to watch longer. Same things if you're running campaigns to your app. By choosing app engagement, you'll see mobile and desktop app installs and engagement. And if you're running messenger ads, you can also see conversations started, replies, new messaging connections, and blocked messaging connections. And if you're running carousel ads, you can also see what's going on with each of the carousels, right? So once you have the data, you are no longer running blind. Understanding your most important Facebook ad metrics is the key to boosting your return on your investment of your time as well as your money toward your campaigns. Let me know if you are or are not gathering the data that you need. And if you are, how often are you checking in? All right, until next time, let's grow your business together.